Throughout time, people across the world told each other tales of how they came to be, of heroes and monsters, romance and tragedy, death and rebirth. Mythology helped shape the ancient world, explaining the unexplainable. This is Mythology Unleashed. The ultimate fate of all living things, be they human, animal, or plant, is death. Though there are countless ways to meet this inevitable fate, some peaceful and natural, others sudden and tragic, the nature of death and what happens afterward have always been a grand mystery and a subject of speculation for thousands of years. In many cultures across the world, death is not the end, rather a transition from one plane of existence to another. And in many cultures, there is a being whose presence heralds the coming of death, and stands there waiting to escort the deceased to the land of the dead. This being is known as a psychopomp. Psychopomps appear in a variety of forms throughout mythology all over the world. Some appear as unassuming figures, perhaps an animal, or even a previously deceased loved one. Some are depicted as rather frightening, with a decidedly monstrous appearance. And some are given no real form at all, appearing as mist or energy. In the late Middle Ages, an artistic depiction of death emerged in the form of the Grim Reaper, an animated skeleton in a black flowing robe who carries a large scythe. The Grim Reaper is believed to have appeared in Europe as a response to the Black Death, a fatal pandemic of bubonic plague that killed between 75 and 200 million people across the continent. The death tolls were so high, it was as if death itself were reaping souls, like a farmer who harvests his crops with his scythe. It is said that the Reaper does not kill people, rather appears when it is someone's time to die. It cannot be tricked, bribed, or fought. It always leaves with the soul it had come to collect, bringing them from the realm of the living to the land of the dead. Though the Grim Reaper may perhaps be the most famous depiction of a psychopomp, and a chilling one at that, it is far from the only one, and not all of them are depicted as scary looking. In ancient Egypt, those who had died were greeted by Anubis, the jackal god of embalming, who would take them to Duat, where they await their judgment. In Greek mythology, it was said that Hermes, the fleet-footed messenger of the gods, would guide the shades of the deceased to the shores of the river Styx, where they would await the boatman Charon, who ferries them to the realm of Hades, so long as they can pay him. Chinese mythology tells of Hebai Wuchang, black and white impermanence, two generals of Dayu who patrol the mortal world every night for the drifting spirits of those who have recently died. The Aztec people believed they would be guided to Mictlan by Xolotl, a fearful god frequently depicted as a hairless dog, or a skeletal being with a dog's head. For the Cree people of North America, the Aurora Borealis is called Wawate, and it is composed from the departed spirits of ancestors forever dancing across the night sky and lighting the way to the afterlife. In Norse mythology, the Valkyries would descend upon the battlefields to those who had fought valiantly and escort the fallen to the realm of Valhalla. In Vodou traditions, Baron Samedi awaits the deceased at the crossroads of life and death, bringing the newly deceased to the afterlife. In Christian beliefs, the deceased are protected on their way to heaven by either Archangel Michael or by Jesus Christ himself. These are but a mere handful of examples of the multitude of psychopomps the world has to offer. Though they all vary drastically in appearance from one another, and each in their own way have been feared and honored, they have more than a few shared qualities between them. As one might imagine, they are all adept guides, experienced border crossers, and walkers between the worlds. They also tend to have an air of compassion about them, being non-judgmental, for they are merely the guide. There is something more than a little unnerving about the idea of death. Life comes to an end for all who live on this planet, yet no one alive ever experiences death and can tell their loved ones about it. The mystery surrounding the nature of death and what, if anything, comes after dying can be utterly terrifying to many people. But when death is given a face, whether it be beautiful or scary or ambivalent, it may take away some of the fear of dying. It is a rather comforting notion that there may be a being free of judgment or malintent who extends their hand out toward you, lets you know that your earthly pain is ended, and will safely guide you home.